Well, hello, everyone. Welcome. Today we have some very important things to be talking about, especially in this month of July, that we have so many aspects about to happen. And I just want everyone to know, hold on a second. Can you hear, especially in this month of, can you hear us, Shri? Is everything working fine?
Yes, I'm absolutely able to hear you. I can see you.
Okay, perfect, because you never know the minute you go live what's going to be happening. So, but anyway, we have so many things to discuss with everyone today. And I want to introduce Shrikala Ram. She is my right-hand person with the university. She is a practicing astrologer, excellent astrologer. She really, Shri, I just have to say, I don't think I could do what I do without you. So I just want everyone to know who you are. And Shri also has her own YouTube channel, which I want everyone to pay attention to. Shri, tell everyone a little bit about your YouTube channel.
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Joni. Appreciate it. So first of all, I learned everything I know from Joni, and you guys have seen me over the past few years on Joni's YouTube. So you know who I am. But my name is Shrikala Ram. My company, my astrology company business is Vedic Living Astrology. And my YouTube channel is called Vedic Living. And my website is vedicliving.com. So I usually talk about astrology. I intend to usually talk about everything that's Vedas related, but most of it is astrology predictions and what's coming up in the news and nakshatras, and you'll see a lot of good content on my YouTube. But of course, I've learned, like I said, everything I know from Joni. So one day I aspire to be like that. But thank you, Joni, again for the introduction. And today we want to talk about everything that's coming up in the month of July. It's an amazing, intense month. Wouldn't you agree, Joni?
Absolutely. That's why we're here. We want everyone to know the roller coaster ride we're about to go on.
Yes, yes. It's just so crazy. The first 2 weeks are so different from the last two, It's just, when I was looking at it, I was like, usually you see kind of like a mediocre, like a, vanilla kind of month. Everything is on the same kind of axis. Otherwise, you'll see really intense kind of months, like March 2020. But then here we have this month where it's, the first 2 weeks are beautiful, with the energies in the sky, the planets, they're all doing, amicable things. You have great muhurtas if you want to do something, and we'll talk more about it. But man, those last 2 weeks going into the first week of August, it's just intense.
It is. So Shri and I are going to inform you. She's got some information that I didn't even consider. So we're going to inform you of everything so you can prepare. And like we keep talking about, the first few weeks are amazing because all the planets in the sidereal zodiac, which is the true placements of where the planets really are in their own sign of rulership, such as I've been talking about this Saturn. Well, Saturn's right on the cusp. Saturn is in Aquarius right now, but by the 12th of July, it's going to shift retrograde back into Capricorn, where it's going to stay there till about the 17th of January. So we have this big shift right in the middle of the month. So Capricorn is a sign about governments and everything to do with government rules all over the world. So what that means is Saturn going back into the sign of Capricorn by July 12th is that we're going to go back and revisit many things that probably in most people's opinions have been left undone. So there's a lot to be done between July 12th and January 17th while Saturn is back in Capricorn. But continuing on, Saturn, even when it's in Capricorn, it's in its sign of rulership. So Saturn is, by the old system, Saturn rules Aquarius. So we use the ancient rulerships of the planets. So Saturn's in Aquarius, Jupiter's in Pisces, and it's been with Neptune. For those of you that use the outer planets, Neptune's even in Pisces which is its sign of rulership. But I'm mainly talking about the personal planets, which are Saturn is the one that's that we can see is visible to the naked eye. These are what we call the personal planets. So, so Jupiter's in Pisces, and we have Mars is in Aries, and we have Venus in Taurus, and most of all, I love this, Mercury in Gemini. Mercury is about to move into Gemini in the next day or so, and that's going to give us a great ability to communicate, see things clearly. This is all about learning. And so while these planets are incredibly strong during the first few weeks till about the 12th, then I feel like this is a time to get things done, to accomplish what you want to manifest. And we're going to be talking about the University of Vedic Astrology towards the end of this, because we feel like the day we chose for the first semester live webinar, which is July 6th, is the best day to do things, because Jupiter's being aspected by the moon. The moon will be in Virgo. But either way, I want everyone to use this time for what it's good for. Plan what you need, plan what you want to manifest, and it will work out, because this is like planning days using astrology. And then we've got the end of the month, which is going to be where the 31st of July is where this conjunction that we've been talking about for so long is about to occur,
Yes.
Where all Uranus, Rahu, and Mars will line up at 24 degrees of Aries. And that just means a very explosive event, something, and when I say that, people think, oh, July 31st is the only day it can happen. No, this is the point where everything starts to happen, really about the third week of July, when we start to get these planets where they're starting to align, the closer they get, but they're already there in alignment right now. So you're going to see things starting to really build and grow to this big crescendo. I feel like it's like something that's going to clear. But I'm going to say that really all the things that are beginning to happen around the third week of July will continue. We have one thing after another that's about to happen from July, August, September, October. We have an array of events happening once again, with Mars going retrograde, and not only that, in September, we have the Saturn and Uranus square at 24 degrees of Capricorn, where Saturn will be, and Uranus will be at 24 degrees of Aries. This always has an effect on Earth changes. You're going to start seeing volcanic eruptions, more earthquakes. I mean, the emotions on the planet are really being stirred up, and you're going to see major changes. I want to say between the third week of July to the end of the year, watch how everything changes. And one more note that we're going to talk about is that on election day here in the United States, November 8th, we have a lunar eclipse, which is where it puts the emotions on high alert. So we're looking at some of the most eventful period in many years to come. So Shri, you wanted to tell us a little bit about that day around July 30th and 31st that you noticed.
Yes.
You noticed an aspect as well.
Oh my God, everybody's talking about it. It's such a big deal because, you know, it's all those three planets, Mars, Uranus, and Rahu, you know, foundationally, they're considered malefic, right? And I noticed the moment Mars entered Aries, we started seeing a lot of like small little events, you know, because like you said, Joni, it's not on that day or the day after. It kind of builds up to that, right? I always tell my clients, it's like this sinusoidal wave, right? So you're going up to the crest of the peak of the wave, and then you come back down. But that build up is already happening because Uranus rules earth changes, right? Earthquakes, any kind of shifting of the earth's crust, you know. And I noticed yesterday and today, there's just been heightened earthquake activity, volcanic activity. In fact, this morning there was this earthquake, 6.0 earthquake in Iran, which affected the whole Middle Eastern area, with Pakistan and, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, that entire area. So, that's pretty intense. And that's kind of, I feel that's a example of what's coming up. Because Uranus and Mars coming together. Remember, Mars entered Aries, so now that whole thing is starting to build up, that energy with the earthquakes and the changes. But remember, every planet and every conjunction, transit, they all have, Joni, like you taught us, a positive too. There are positive meanings too. Uranus rules technology, space travel, space exploration. And I was noticing NASA has all these new projects that they work, of course that's going to come up, right? That's the energy. And Mars is about innovation, pioneering, new things, new discoveries. So of course, you're going to see some of those things too. But when you talk about the malefic energy with Rahu magnifying it, that's the kind of events that we may see towards the end of the month. And we won't see it exactly on that day. It's building up, as we already saw with the earthquakes, and also volcanic activity going on around the planet, because the planets are kind of influencing the events down here, right? So that's one thing. Another thing I noticed was with Saturn moving back into Capricorn, Joni, right? 2020, we are kind of revisiting a lot of those things. When I say that, I actually made my YouTube on July predictions, and a lot of people emailed and put comments on there asking, are we going to have the pandemic again?
I gotta say this, we kind of are. Everyone I talk to says they've had COVID recently.
Yes.
And
yes.
there's nothing reported about this anymore on the news.
No, because it's no longer on the, on their radar, right? They have other things that they're trying to push. But one thing I can tell you is that with this revisiting, you also have to kind of zoom out and look at the big picture, right? Like, what are we revisiting? It's all about control, right? It's about media giving you information that may not be true. You have to really make that assessment for yourself. Like Joni said, lots of people are getting COVID. It's not being reported anymore. So, because remember, Capricorn is an earth sign. It's the government, right? It's and not to mention, we will come very soon to all the transits on Sun too. Sun is world leadership. But that's kind of what we'll be revisiting too. And another thing also that, Joni, I thought we should really touch upon is towards the end of the month, when that 24-degree conjunction happens in Aries, we also have Saturn and Mercury exactly opposing each other. So what I'm going to do is, if you want, Joni, I can share my screen, and then while you talk, you can see it too, and we can both kind of go over it.
I think that would be great. Good.
Okay.
So much going on. Yeah. Yes.
Joni, can you give me ability to share? Or
I thought I did. Hold on a second. Let me see this. Hold on.
And while Joni, you're looking at that, we're getting a lot of questions on the chat already.
Good. Okay, hold on a second. Let me get where I need to be. Oops. Well, you know what? I think I can share my screen.
Sure, yeah.
I can't figure out
just a simple Prashna chart, right, Joni? That's what we were thinking, just so people can see.
Okay, so do you want the 31st of July or July 30th?
Yeah, let's do the 30th, right? Because that shows everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go.
That's good, because people get to see a glimpse of how you teach, Joni.
Yes. Yeah, so, okay. I'm going to share my screen. Let me make sure this is what's on my screen. Good. All right. Can you see it now? Can you see the chart?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
All right. And as you can see, all the other charts I've been looking at up here
Oh,
in
yes.
order to help everyone understand what's coming down. But go ahead, Shri, tell us about this chart.
So yes, as you guys can see, July 30th, you still have Jupiter in Pisces with Neptune. And I wanted to mention one more thing, guys. Remember a few months ago, Joni predicted, and we were all talking about how Jupiter and Neptune coming together can cause floods. And if you remember, there has been intense flooding in many places around the world, Australia, right? And even, Joni, did you know that they had to shut down Yellowstone because of flooding?
Oh, that's right. I did hear that.
That's when Jupiter and Neptune were very close to each other. So the reason I brought that up now, although that is past, is that is how Earth changes happen. With Neptune being all about water, Pisces is water, Jupiter comes together with it. That's what caused it. Similarly, with Uranus ruling Earth changes, Mars coming together and Rahu intensifying it. That's the reason why we're talking about Earth changes, and just something that you guys out there who know astrology, you probably can gain something from that. So that's one big thing. You can see exactly they're at 24 degrees. That's intense. And if you have any planets at 24 degrees of Aries, right, Joni, and 24 degrees of Libra, that would be it, right? So just, and always not to panic or anything, right? Remember that planets have a subtle way of kind of waking you up. It's waking your consciousness. So there will be events around you in your life which could make you rethink about what you've been doing so far, right? So you just have to be careful around that time, more careful if you have planets on that exact degree, and plus don't travel, right? Because Uranus rules air travel. Mars is, a violent kind of planet. So you really want to kind of not travel in that couple of weeks for sure. And what I was really mentioning, Joni, was look at that Saturn Mercury. Did you see that?
Yes, right there.
Wow.
Exact opposition. Yes.
Yeah, you have to pay attention, guys, when you see one particular conjunction happening and at the same time something else is happening, which could really trigger, a lot of things. Because, like Joni always says, with that 24 degrees conjunction in Aries, Mars, Uranus, and Rahu, it can really incite violence around the planet, right? But at the same time, if Mercury is being impacted by that Saturn, just imagine there's no communication happening. People are not talking to each other. They are not compromising. They don't want to, even hear the other person's point of view. So it's kind of adding to that, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lack of communications. And, Saturn being in the sign of government controls, and Mercury and the Sun being in Cancer. Cancer is about security.
Yes.
And so there's a lack of security. People are feeling insecure by what? The government, the way that they're handling the affairs of the world. And it's not just in the United States. I mean, this is happening all over the world. I think everything to do with government affairs is going through the biggest transformation it's ever gone through in history. So that's where we are. And, a lot of people have been talking about Pluto. Pluto being in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn's about government affairs. Pluto sidereally just came into Capricorn really about the time COVID hit the world. That was its transit into Capricorn. And so Pluto is always about something dying for the new to be reborn. And yes, Pluto's going to be in Capricorn for a very long time. I think 20 years, but over the course of this next 20 years, we're going to see governments completely die and be reborn. One thing I always tell everyone about Pluto is that when you go through a Pluto transit, you feel like it is the worst time of your life, because it always eliminates something in your life that you are so attached to. But I find that about 2 years later, after you go through this gut-wrenching, horrible feeling of, pain and suffering, you feel like, I always say you feel like throwing up when you go through Pluto. really, when you go through Pluto transits. But after 2 years, you look back and you go, thank God that happened, because I couldn't be where I am or who I am, because Pluto always eliminates anything that is not growth producing. So I've had some people ask me lately, what about, the whole government? Is everything going to change so that the United States isn't the same? And my answer to that is yes, but it's positive. It may seem very negative at first, but what's happening always is Pluto is like a purging of something, and it needs to be purged in order for the healing to occur. So I think right now, the reason why it seems so intense, and always something good will come out of Pluto transits, but it seems so dark right now. But we have to go through this tunnel to get to the other side. And when we do, it's going to be a much better world. I know I've been saying this over and over again. We have to be patient. This is a purging that has to happen. So it is a death and a rebirth. That's what Pluto.
That's so amazing, Joni, that you said that, because while you said it, I don't know how this happened. I was looking at the nakshatra that conjunction 24 degrees is happening. It's happening in Bharani.
Yes.
And Bharani is about rebirth. The symbology is the womb. And they say you have to go through so much pain. It's just very symbolic of giving birth, right? You go through so much pain, but something beautiful comes out of it in the end, right? You have a brand new baby. But that's the whole idea of Bharani, right? And, I've personally experienced it. I know a lot of people listening to us probably even have, because I have my moon in Bharani too. It is a very awakening kind of experience, but you have to go through a lot to get to that. So exactly what you said, Joni, all the pain and suffering is going to ultimately give rise to something brand new and beautiful, because that's the symbology of Bharani. That's where it's happening. And I also notice Mars is aspecting that Mercury as well. Mm-hmm. Right. I think a week before that, or a couple of weeks before that, will be probably exactly aspecting too. Yes. That Mercury, which can also cause anger in communications. Mm-hmm. People won't come to the table to talk to each other. And I'm glad, Joni, you have Taiwan and all of that up, because, I noticed in Taiwan's chart too, some impacts, because when those kind of issues happen, these country leaders have to come to the table to talk. They have to come to the table to resolve. But with these transits, it's really hard for that to happen,
Yeah. Do you want me to click on any of these charts?
Yeah, I mean, we can go over it one by one. I think we already talked about, yesterday we were talking about Donald Trump and Barron Trump. It's just.
Well, and that's one thing I wanted to bring up, that during this time, we're looking in one direction, and we're forgetting that Uranus is always a big surprise. It's something we didn't think of. And what came to me is, I was scared to say it, but I'm going to go ahead and say it just in case it can help. I think that Donald Trump is in danger. And I just wanted to put that out if somebody can somehow understand that, we're not thinking about him, we're thinking about who's in the government right now. But if something were to happen, it would be part of the anger and all hell breaking out. So I don't know, maybe the charts, let's look at some of the other countries.
Yeah, I think the whole idea was to go and look at all the charts where we have planets at 24 degrees. And I think that's how, Joni, you arrived at this, right? So maybe we can look at them one by one.
Right.
So give people an idea.
Yeah, look at Taiwan. I mean, this is like the moon is there at 22 degrees. And Saturn's there. So we know that Taiwan is during this time that we have Mars roll up to about 20 degrees or 22 degrees, that we're going to have an issue with Taiwan. Definitely, there's going to be something. Anything else you see in this chart, Shri?
It's in the 8th house. 8th house is always difficult.
Always.
And it's transformational. Probably it'll result in a better form of government or something, but 8th house is always difficult, and look at all that Bharani stuff going on there in Taiwan's chart, Saturn and moon, and You know, so all these planets that we are talking about conjuncting at 24 degrees will first hit those degree points before getting to 24 degrees. So I think those could also be kind of like, you know, trigger points to build up to an event towards the end of the month. But
and another thing is, I tell everyone to pay attention to where Taurus is in your chart, because that's going to be where Mars is going to be retrograding for most of the rest of the year, all the way into March. From let's say September, I think Mars is going to go into Gemini for about 2 or 3 weeks. But for the most part, for 6 months, it's going to be in Taurus, pretty much from October through, well, November through March for sure in Taurus. And so Mars is very aggravating. It will bring up anger and disruption. And that's what I see happening for a lot of people that have major planets in Scorpio or Taurus as well. So, in Taiwan's chart, we also see where these Scorpio planets are going to be affected by Mars being in Taurus, plus they're going to have a Mars return. And then where Mars is going to station is very important at 0 degrees of Gemini. So going over here to Xi Jinping, that's where his sun is. And the fact that he has Sun-Mars conjunction anyway, this is kind of a volatile personality, but especially with communications and words. Why? Because they're in Gemini. But the fact that Mars is going to station about on the sun is so meaningful and powerful. So when does it station and turn retrograde? It's going to be in October. October 30th is when Mars will be at 1 degree of Gemini. And when a planet stations, that's when a planet, right before it goes retrograde or right before it goes direct, it pretty much stands still. Correct. And it makes a major impact, because the slower a planet is moving, the more powerful and intense it is. And what does Mars deal with? It deals with anger, violence, it deals with weapons. So this Mars is going to have a huge effect on China, and then before that, Taiwan, by these planets being triggered.
Yeah, and also that Sun rules the second house of speech and communication.
Yes,
you know?
Right, I noticed that. So so moving on to, I don't remember if this chart I have for China was as impactful. But you know, even planets that are here, like close, 26 degrees of Libra, K2 is going over it. And all of those planets are aspecting Venus in the 10th house, which is what? Their leader. Right. Their leader. So you can even see something here. And another chart that I felt like had a lot going on in it is Kamala Harris. She has her ascendant in her Rahu here at 1 degree of Gemini, exactly where Mars is going to be stationing the end of October. So you can see how all of these things are culminating one after another. Mars retrograde, Mars stationing, and even the eclipse that's going to be happening in November. That's going to be happening in the Aries and Libra axes. This is so important. And in one, I was looking at Donald Trump's chart to see if I saw anything. And the one thing I do see is when the Mars stations to go retrograde, it's going to be 1 or 0 degrees of Gemini, which is truly right there where his sun is as it backs over the sun. So I think there's going to be so much anger coming out, spewing everywhere in the United States with politics. But even I even pulled up Vladimir Putin's chart to see what's going on. We haven't heard much about on the news anyway about Ukraine, but we know it's still going on. And Putin has his Jupiter right here within 3 degrees of that exact conjunction, and it's going to be aspecting Venus. And was it China that had their Venus right there? So who knows that they're in, working together in some way. So those are the charts. Do you want me to go back? We can go back to what's happening right now. But those were the things I wanted to broadly just bring to everyone's attention about what is going to be happening and coming down very soon. So in other words, right now, it's pretty peaceful. But about the third week of July, all of this, you're going to start seeing all the rumbling and all the changes. And as all the fear that this is going to manifest in the world comes about, the stock market, the economy even drops lower. I've been talking about this in my YouTubes as well as in my newsletter. By the way, go to my website, sign up for my newsletter where you will be able to get all of this information typed out, so you can refer back to it, all the dates and times of everything that's happening. So let's see, is there any other dates? Oh, and one thing I thought was so interesting is, I'll repeat this again for everyone that's listening right now, but I went back to the last time that this Mars-Uranus-Rahu conjunction happened in Aries, and it was 1855. So as doing research for astrology, you always need to go back and see what did it bring about the last time that this conjunction happened in Aries. And in 1855, I found that it was called the Kansas-Nebraska Act. And it was a debate over whether Kansas would enter the Union as a free or slave state. The territory's election of March 1855. And they said that during this time that it was notorious for fraudulent voting intimidation that took place at the polls. And they also surmised from all of this that this was called the violence of bleeding Kansas. And it was the event that sparked the beginning of the Civil War. So my question is, does this have something to do with sparking again some type of civil war? But I think it's global. It's going to probably happen in the United States, and then the domino effect is going to be happening everywhere in the world. And what is this all building to? A whole new government. Something has to purge and something has to change. I'm sure everyone, no matter what side you believe in, that you feel like something needs to change and the governments need to transform into something better for humanity. So that's my take.
And in the United States chart, Joni, that Saturn moving back on July 12th into Capricorn would be in the second house, right? So that would be, there you go. It would be in its second house. So that would be about financial kind of, predictions that we can make with that, with the economy going down, because Saturn can usually bring things back down. But one more thing is with the second house, it's food and agriculture. And we've seen a lot of supply chain issues going on. And I think that we are going to revisit all of those things too when Saturn goes back for the next 6 months or so, Plus, with everything that's happening in the fifth house for United States, remember, whenever there are problems around the globe, United States is put in the position of having to, kind of intervene and fix things and all that. And of course, that's the fifth house too, right? With all the giving advice and all of that. But one more thing I noticed, Joni, was if you go back to Kamala Harris's chart. Yeah, right there. When you talked about that moon, because Mars will be going over her moon here very soon. Actually, it's already on top of it, I think, right? 1 second, let me check.
Today it is, yes.
It is, yeah.
Over here is today where the planets are. So
yeah, so
Mars is 4 degrees Aries, yes.
Yeah, moon is ruling her second house of speech too. And not to mention when Mars gets to that 24 degrees conjunction degree, it is going to aspect the natal Mars in a little bit, in a few days after that, so first week of August, which is again, in the second house. And this is a trend we are seeing in all these world leaders' charts, with the second house, which is speech, communication, interacting with other people. It's just, I feel like whatever is coming up is going to cause a breakdown in communication, not to mention the Saturn and Mercury opposition happening as well, you know.
Well, I mean, the way things are right now, it's so separate. There's such a duality. There's such a polarity. Things couldn't be more extreme on both ends of, politics. There's so much extreme that I doubt we're going to somehow come into a compromise anytime soon. So what happens is, something, if we do not decide to compromise or come together and work things out, there has to be an explosive event that will finally bring the healing that we need. And I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah. And even the midterm elections, Joni, I'm glad you brought that up because, the last election, as you very well know, we had all that problem with, people contesting the votes and not trusting what the government was showing them or what the media was showing them. So, we could be doing all of that again with Saturn going back into and being retrograde in Capricorn,
Absolutely. Absolutely. That will be happening for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the resolution yet we need with all of that.
Yes, I agree. But again, just to reinforce that whole point that Joni was talking about, everything's gonna ultimately shake up what is currently happening. Over the last few years, we have built up a certain structure, which unfortunately does not seem to be working for anybody anymore, with control and politics and all of that, plus the media being so deeply involved in everything. So it is a moment for you to really connect to yourself and understand that no matter what everybody around you is telling you, including the media, you have to listen to your inner voice. And trust me, when this whole conjunction that we're talking about, end of July, early August, when it's completed, and of course, we have a few more events coming up in September and October, but when you come out of this on the other side, you will feel like this was really needed. And that's exactly how these transformative events work, right? So that's very important to remember. Whatever we are going through now, it's a birthing process of something that's new and that's going to come up. That's Bharani.
Right, exactly. So here, I think we'll go back to talking about what's coming. And one thing I think is like exactly what Shri is talking about. I actually formed a group of spiritual-minded people. It's called Shooting Stars. If you're interested in joining that, we come together every Tuesday at noon Central Standard Time to talk about different ways that we can stay grounded in our spiritual truths. Because during times of chaos like this, people start looking outside of themselves for leadership and people to guide them. And this is actually what comes about with many cults. So we have to be reinforced that we have to find our own power within ourselves and listen to our own inner guidance. And that's where the truth is. And that's where we're going to stay anchored in our spiritual light, where we're not misinformed. We're not going down the path of destruction to ourselves, being controlled and being consumed with fear. Fear is always what is going to destroy us. And that is how many governments or people control other people, through fear. And we are not bringing fear out there. We're just saying there is going to be a lot of tactics to create fear out there. And I want you to bring back in and find your spiritual place, because this is where you're going to find your truth and know what to do. And when you come to these spiritual times in your life, when you pray, when you meditate, when you listen to your inner guidance and you breathe, you're going to find that you're going to be okay during this time. Everything is going to work out for you. But if you're consumed with the fear, if you go down the road of where all these tactics globally are taking you, you could get sick. Why? Because when you're fearful, you lower your vibrational frequency and you lower your immune system. Please stay grounded and know you will be fine. And you have to listen to your inner gut. knowingness.
Yes.
And this is what Shree's talking about. But we actually have a group where we come together and talk about different ways to stay grounded, to be of the light during these most difficult times. But when something's really difficult, remember, it's always an opportunity for change. And we all have this opportunity to grow spiritually during this most difficult time.
And that's all about Aquarius, right, Joni? When Saturn went into Aquarius, we saw all around the world, not just our group, but there were all these groups forming where people were coming together to empower each other, to uplift each other, and help them find their own inner true self. Because we have been misled for a long time by everything around us. And one of the things that I remember very dearly, my grandfather used to always say this, is that when you buy into that fear, and when you start taking action to avoid something, that's exactly what you'll attract, right? Because they say destiny meets you on the road you take to escape it. It's right there, so that's one of the main things you have to remember. You attract what you fear, and you attract what you're putting out there too, right? So you really have to be that light in this time. Because when you do that, you attract the light towards you. And that's what we do in the Shooting Stars series. Every Tuesday we meet, and everybody on our group talks about how they feel like this is a recharging event every week for them, right? They go live their lives for a whole week, then they come back to this event where we all get together, we talk about upliftment and helping each other and finding your own inner true self, and they feel recharged to go back to the world. And that's an amazing thing, Joni. Thank you for putting this together, because I know initially when we were talking about this, you were like, oh, let's try this out. Maybe it may work, but I think it absolutely does work, because a lot of people have said how much it is helping them. They come here for an hour, right? It's just an hour on Tuesdays, and they feel like they're uplifted by what you're saying. So if you want to sign up for that, it's on Joni's website on the very front page. You can sign up for the Shooting Star series. Not to mention, every month we have a guest speaker. Mm-hmm. And I loved Joe Vitale. He was in the first month. And then we had Pam Gregory, who was an astrologer this past week, Western astrologer. But everybody comes and talks about the same topic, right? About upliftment, about spirituality, about enlightenment, but it's hard to do all that when you have not connected to yourself. When you're always listening to the outside world, it's very difficult to hear your voice, your inner voice. So I'm glad, Joni, that you brought us together for this purpose. It's amazing that you've done this.
Yeah, thank you. And another thing we need to mention is our magazine, Joni Patrice Astrology Insights, is due to come out July 7th. So be prepared. Go to, and I think that's on the main page of my website too, to sign up for the brand new magazine, first edition, very first edition. I'm interviewed, and like I tell people, you're going to find out things you didn't know about. But we have so many incredible writers. And most of all, what I love about it is we have the research journal. That's a section in the magazine where everyone in the university has, well, not everyone, but they are, it's open to them to do research and write an article. And we have some amazing articles in this journal. Mine's going to be on the Saturn Uranus square and historically what it's produced throughout the many, many years that it's happened. So it's really about research, proving our facts with going backwards in time, or having so many different charts that have the same thing that give us the indication of what we're trying to prove through our research. So we have lots of research articles in there, and palmistry, everything to do with the Vedas, the
Ayurveda. We have some yoga meditation stuff in there. It's a very all-inclusive kind of magazine, Joni. There's no other magazine like it.
Yes, so I hope you guys will check it out. It's only $9.99 an issue, or $99 for the entire year, and it will bring you so much information that you can really be entertained with and gain great insight and new information through this magazine. So
Yeah, I
check
just
it out.
get so excited when we talk about this magazine,
I
Joni,
know.
because it's going to be this digital flip book, guys. I mean, you can literally flip the pages on your phone or on your computer, just flipping through the magazine like you do with regular, paper magazines, right? And it's a digital flip book. And the information in there, when Joni talked about her interview, I was smiling because I interviewed Joni. And Joni, I have to tell you, I learned a lot of things about you, which I've never known before. So I know you guys, if you're going to get the magazine, you're going to be surprised, and happily so, because Joni's really bared her entire life in that magazine, and a lot of things about your flight attendant days and how you did astrology when you were a flight attendant. It's just amazing. I was, while I was doing the interview, I was like, Joni, I didn't know about that about you. It's amazing. But that's one. Then we have Who's in the News, which every month we'll have an exciting person that will bring on. And then we also have financial astrology predictions, which I know all of you want to see, right? And stock picks. Then we also have the research articles. I'm myself writing a whole monthly column on the psychology behind astrology, because that's something that's close to my heart. I've always wondered, how does astrology work? So then I started doing the research as part of the research group on how the psychology behind it works. What does Sun Saturn mean? How does that implement itself in a person's life from their childhood, and then make them a certain way as adults, and how can they overcome that, right? So that is my own personal, like, it's a passion for me to pursue that. And Joni gives all of us opportunities to do it. And that'll be a monthly column. Every month we'll have that. And not to mention, there's medical astrology in there. There are all kinds of little tidbits, we have added, just like any regular magazine. You can go in and you can see those little, the little transits, and, we are adding like small little boxes which have information in it that you can read. You're going to enjoy this magazine, and we really hope you do. But that's, yeah.
And every month we're going to interview a famous astrologer. They'll be on the cover, and you'll get to learn so much about them and how they work. And it's just so interesting. It's like People magazine, but for astrology.
I love that.
Yeah. So another thing is that, Shri, did anybody have any questions about the world events of what's coming? Anything that we need to
let me scroll up here and see. Yes, just one second. Yeah, we've been getting a lot of questions. Let's see. What will happen to gas stocks?
That's a good question. I think because of the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction, they've been together, that Neptune rules oil and gas. I warned everyone that the oil prices were going to go sky high when Neptune and Jupiter came together, and they certainly did. So I think, Neptune is going to retrograde back away from Pisces with Jupiter. I think it's about November. And I think that the stocks and the price of oil and everything is going to subside. It's not going to be as extreme, because Jupiter and Neptune will not be in the same sign together.
Correct.
So I think that's going to start, dissipating and not being so radical and extreme. Yeah. Yes. Any other questions?
Let's see. Will the November elections take place? I think they will. Nothing's going to stop it, right, Joni? It's a matter of, once the elections take place, the aftermath. That's usually
right. The aftermath, and all during it, it's going to be really crazy. Yes.
Yes. Let's see what else. Desantis, Florida's Ron Desantis. Do you have his chart, Joni? I can look if I.
We need to find his chart, because a lot of people have been asking about that. I have not looked at his chart yet to answer that question.
Yes, me neither. I don't think I have it. When will it be safe to travel again?
Well, now that's a good question, because I have so many people, ask me, I've got this trip plan. It really needs to be in your chart for the travel plans to be really bad for you. So, even though we're saying, traveling will be hectic and crazy, It needs to be aspecting major planets in your chart for it to be a bad time for you to travel.
Yes.
So even though we keep predicting, havoc and problems with travel, realize if your chart is unaffected, in other words, you don't have anything in that Aries and Libra axes or any other planets, you'll be fine. The world is not coming to an end.
Yes.
I know we kind of give you the feel that it is,
Yes.
but it is not coming to an end. It's just going to be mass chaos and a lot of earthquakes and earth changes and, airlines having more and more problems, probably with cancellations and problems like that, but you'll be fine. And yes, you can travel if those planets aren't affecting you in your birth chart.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Joni, because sometimes when we hear these predictions, we immediately start thinking of the worst. But
Right.
I noticed when Mars went into Aries, there was more airline delays and cancellations too,
Sure.
because that energy is starting to build up. It's coming closer to Uranus, which rules airplanes and air travel.
Mhm.
And, that's what I think everybody needs to understand, that if you're not seeing it in your personal chart, for example, third house getting impacted or the ruler of the third house or something like that, Mercury in your chart, those are all travel related, then, all you'll probably see is some delays and some cancellation or losing bag, something like that, But again, you may not even see that if you have great aspects in your chart for travel. I know, Joni, you always told me whenever you leave to travel, look for the good aspects to your ascendant or your moon, right? Like Jupiter or Venus aspecting. So of course, if you absolutely have to travel, then look for those good times in the day when you can leave your home, and you should be fine. Okay.
Right. But you remember, I was a flight attendant for many, many years.
Yes.
If I saw some bad aspects, did I not go to work? No, I can't be not going to work all the time just because of the bad aspects. But sometimes it does matter when you leave the house. If you're really concerned, you leave the house when these transits are in a good place with your personal chart, such as like Shree's pointing out, the rising sign at that time you leave the house. If it's conjunct a benefic Venus or Jupiter, it will be a good trip.
You'll be protected. And even the moon, and also look for a good nakshatra for the moon to be. And if you have any control on that and your travel can be a little flexible with the dates, then look for a good nakshatra. Those are the little things you can do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What is the future of the US dollar?
Oh, that's a good one.
A lot of people are asking that.
Yeah. I think we're looking at a huge change with that. It's coming. And I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but it is definitely coming, because remember, the United States is going through a Pluto return. And if you look at the United States chart, Pluto's in the second house of money. So of course that's going to change. I think it could happen before Saturn, goes back into Aquarius by January. There could be some talk about this. I don't think it's going to be imminent right away, but there is going to be more and more talk about this.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, Joni, it'll probably build up to that Pluto return, which is, we have another year, couple of years for that.
Exactly.
But that is, remember, the US dollar, the financial kind of structure in the US has been there. It's been existing for so many years, right? It's not something that can change overnight. But absolutely, whatever is happening now can cause those little trigger events that can ultimately cause a change in the financial system in the United States, even around the world.
Absolutely. And it will happen. And like I always say, down the road, we will be exchanging money with cryptocurrency. I know that's the future. Now, Bitcoin, no, Bitcoin's not usable, but I see all the businesses and companies having their own cryptocurrency, and this is going to be a huge change down the road, not right away, but with the future generation, that's how money's going to probably be exchanged.
Yes.
Because we have to know all these countries are in debt, trillions of dollars. How is that ever going to be resolved? It can't be. So a major transformational change is going to occur. Is it going to happen in an instant? No, but it is slowly evolving and happening.
Yes, I agree. The other big question that's coming up is, let's see, gas price we talked about. How do you recognize fear from intuition? It's a beautiful question.
Fear from what?
How do you recognize fear from intuition?
Intuition?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Jody.
Well, intuition, here's the thing. Fear is not of the spiritual body. Fear is something that is opposite of our spirituality and who we are, because there's nothing really to fear. Because and what's that great saying? There's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Fear itself.
It's simply true. Fear is the common denominator of every negative emotion, whether it be anger, whether it be jealousy, whether it be anything that deals with negativity. The core essence of it is based on fear. So fear has nothing to do with connecting to our spirit, because when we connect to our spirit, fear dissipates, it goes away, because that is your truth. That's who you are. Remember this, that all of us have the spirit of the divine within us. We all have that, and we're all connected because of that. And there is no even minute feeling of fear within that body, because that's our soul, that's our spirit, that's who we are. When you connect to that, your intuition connects to that. So intuition has nothing to do with the fear base. The fear is outside of you that's trying to take over you, but you are not in any way connected to fear. Fear is outside of us, trying to change us, but don't let it. That's the whole point of this. Your intuition, you will always feel that just gut knowing that that's the truth, and that's what's in your spirit, and that's intuition. Intuition, when it is not, now maybe some people may confuse their intuition with fear, because the fear they're thinking is their intuition. But if it's fear, if it has anything to do with fear, it's not your intuition. That's what I'll say.
And I can tell you guys a very quick way to know the difference, because I can understand the confusion, because both fear and intuition brings a thought into your mind, right? Either way. But exactly like Joni said, fear is more on the negative spectrum of things, while intuition is more on the spiritual side of things. But a quick way to kind of say the difference is fear will cause anxiety, but intuition will be coming from a calm, peaceful state of mind. So that is a way to understand the difference between the two. Because when you're fearful, you are anxious and you start doing everything to avoid a certain eventuality. And in the process, you end up bringing that eventuality into your life, right? But intuition comes from a very calm state of mind. It's actually detachedness that causes that, right? Just the 12th house. 12th house is all psychic and intuitive kind of feelings. So it has to come from a calm mindfulness. So that's the way that you could say the difference. But, I think, Joni, you really hit the nail on the head with that. Yeah.
In the Course in Miracles, which I studied for many years, they always say there's only two emotions, and it's fear or love.
Yes.
What is it coming from? Is it coming from fear, or is it coming from love? And you always have to know love is the only thing that heals. So that should answer that.
I agree. All right, so one more question is about Mount Etna erupting, and I did notice that. It was like a couple of days ago, I noticed that particular eruption, and exactly to our point, right? With the volcanic changes that are happening, the Earth shifting with the Uranus, Mars coming into Aries. And not only that, I believe there was also something happening in Tonga, which was volcano related, where the fumes were released into the sky. And yeah, absolutely. That somebody asked that question, whether we knew if Mount Etna had erupted, Joni.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now we want to also bring in what we wanted to talk about today, which is the thing in my life that I am most proud of, except for my 3 sons. I always tell everyone my greatest accomplishment in life are my 3 sons and the University of Vedic Astrology. So we have this new start date that's going to be this Wednesday, July 6th. And we even plan the time astrologically, 9:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. But this is when I'm going to do my live first semester class to everyone that's joined in the university. And so it's time to sign up now, because this is like such a fruitful, prosperous time that it's going to work for everyone that comes on board at this time. So the University of Vedic Astrology, Shri and I did a very in-depth video that you can go watch this past week on how it all works. But one thing about it that I have to say, I don't think there's any school out there that never expires. You can always come back and take the classes again and again and again, as many times as you want. And, no matter years from now, you can always come back. So it never expires. You get a live tutor that you can ask questions, and you join a community of people around the world that are like-minded and into learning Vedic astrology. We are here to hold your hand, to help you learn in every way. So there's 40 videos that are pre-recorded. After each video, you take a test, and you have a tutor that will help you, live tutor, and the tutors are all graduates from the university. And so once you do graduate, you get to be a tutor. And the whole platform of the university has all these classes, and we have new classes that are coming out, standalone classes that are coming out. Shri has a whole 2 semesters or 2 series of Gemini classes. If you've ever wanted to learn Gemini astrology, she's going to be presenting her classes coming up here. And she follows the same format. You take tests, you get a live tutor that's going to help you, that's graduated from her course. But the beautiful thing about all of this is we're growing, and once you're a graduate, you have the opportunity to use the university platform to put your classes, standalone classes, and everyone from the university is going to probably want to be taking your classes, because we're a whole community of people. And probably the most exciting aspect of it, we have a Telegram group where everyone comes together and talks astrology and talks about their chart, how to do certain things, and what they're learning in the classes. It's just an amazing community, and we have students in every portion of the world. So you could probably find some like-minded people even where you're living that are part of the university. Is there anything you want to say, Shri? You're a graduate. Tell
Yes, you missed the most important part, Joni. They get to learn from you, right? 40 years of experience. It's not something you can find anywhere. It's not just a bunch of videos that you watch and you learn by yourself, because Joni meets you every week at a live webinar, and she teaches you with every concept using current event charts. So when you sign up, you have full lifetime access to all the recordings, because a lot of people ask that. If I'm not able to make the live webinar, what happens? Well, you have the recordings with you, not just the recordings of these classes. You have recordings from way back in 2016, everything archived in the same platform. I'm telling you guys, this is a treasure trove of information, of astrology information. And when you meet Joni every week on Wednesdays for the class, you can ask her questions. You get one-on-one interaction with Joni. That's invaluable. And then, not to mention, the start date and time of the university was picked astrologically. So when you start your studies on that day, that's the muhurta that you're getting, which is amazing. It's beautiful. It's such an auspicious time, with all the planets being in their own signs of rulership. If you go back and watch the video, I think it was like three videos ago, on Joni's channel, we analyze the chart for the day we are starting the university classes. So remember, when you sign up, that's the muhurta that you're getting. That means that your studies are going to be successful. In fact, even more than that, right? You are going to be successful as an astrologer, because guess what? Once this university is completed, once you've finished your studies, Joni doesn't just send you out into the world. She gives you a platform. And, I can personally attest to that, because when I created my Germany course, Joni allowed me to have it on her platform. And a lot of students at the university wanted to learn Germany. So you have full lifetime access to all the content that's in the university. Joni is promoting you. Plus, you will see on Joni's channel, every month she interviews a star of the month. Have you ever realized that those are actually graduates that are coming out of the university? Because that's who Joni is. She wants to promote her students and people who are coming out, because Joni, this is your legacy, right? It's just amazing. But that's one thing. Another thing, as a student of the university, you get to do research. And there's nothing better than that, right? You get to research, you get to write in the magazine that we are about to publish. I mean, I'm telling you guys, this is like a big, when we started Joni, it was just a small little university with a few courses in it. Now it's almost like a city, right? I mean, it's a lot of infrastructure around it. And when you come into this little world of ours, you're part of the UVA family. And that's again invaluable. Just in these times, when you have things like this UVA community, or the Telegram community that we have, or the Shooting Star community that we have, these are the things that we need to help us come out of this and help us understand our individuality. So if you've ever wanted to learn astrology, there's nothing better. Okay.
Yes. And one more thing, and we'll take questions from everyone, but one more thing, we lowered the price. You will, if you join before July 15th, you will get the lower price. And yes, you'll see on the website what it's going to go back up to on the 15th. So check it out on universityofvedicastrology.com. That's the website for the university. And if you're still in doubt, we have people that gave their testimonials, all the students on the website that talk about it, what it meant to them and their experience. We have testimonials. Plus, if you're still in question, the very first class of semester 1 is free on the website, on the University of Vedic Astrology website. Go in and watch it, get a feel of what that's all about. But I have to say, the live webinars are the ones that we have the most fun with, interacting with everybody, and everyone gets to ask me questions. And we always take current events, who's in the news, and that's how we prove our particular principle that we're trying to prove, whether it could be yogas. If it's yogas, if somebody's in the news, we'll look at their chart and see all the yogas in their chart. It's always more fun to look at current events and what's happening in the world to help us in our learning. So don't forget, we have the discounted price till July 15th, and we start the first class though on the 6th. So don't miss out. It's going to be so much fun. I'd love to meet all of you that are dedicated to really wanting to learn astrology. This is serious astrology. You are going to learn. We're going to make sure, because the whole university is really about learning, the whole experience. We don't have grades. If something wrong, you just have to go back till you get it right. That's how you learn. Not just, oh, you failed it, or you passed it, or you got the highest grade. No, it's definitely different. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't know my phone's hooked up to this. So,
and there was a question while you were talking, Joni. Yeah. I think one of the viewers is asking, being busy with other demands, can she buy classes and semesters? She wants the whole batch, but she worries that she may not be able to complete or get the best of it all in the offer.
Now, what is that? Do you
understand? So I think I understand what she's asking. And if this is not right, then you can ask the question again. I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the person. Okay. But yes, you can buy it semester by semester. But here's the thing. When you buy the entire university, you get $1,000 off. that's a huge discount, because if you go semester by semester, by the time you get to the sixth semester, you've paid a certain amount, like which is $1,000 more than what you would have paid if you bought the whole package. But here's the thing, a lot of people are worried about buying the whole thing in one shot because they feel like, oh, what if life gets busy? And trust me, I know exactly where you're coming from. You're always like, struggling to have time. Everybody wants more than 24 hours in a day, right? Absolutely. But here's the thing. Once you buy the whole thing, you have lifetime access. We've had students who finish like maybe semester 1 and semester 2, and then they have something happen where they have to travel for their work or something. So they take a break and they come back, because Joni starts the university at least twice every year. So you're always able to come back and join a new group. If you feel that you want the feeling of being in a group, you can do that. Or you can just come back and pick up where you left off. Absolutely, very flexible. Nobody's going to be telling you, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you meet a timeline? There are no timelines here, guys, right? This is a very flexible schedule. It's completely self-paced. And you want to join the live webinars on a certain Wednesday because you have the day off from work? Absolutely. You're not able to join the next Wednesday? That's fine. You can always watch the recording. And you want to take a break and come back? Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of students that do that. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
Yes.
and some people still come back and listen to the live webinars that graduated 6 years ago.
Yes, I do that too, Joni.
It's just, it's a fun community. The more, the better, I feel like. We get to talk to each other, and it's a great community. That's why I love for people to come back. And you always learn something new, even though you may have taken the class many times. It's just,
and you know what I'm guilty of, Joni, is when I'm traveling, right, on the plane, I always download one of the videos that I want to go back and watch. I don't know, you've done so many beautiful ones, Alex Trebek's chart, and you remember that one. That was a really good one. I just download it, and when I'm on the flight, I listen to that or watch the whole thing. It's just so, I have to tell you guys, there's information, there's education here. Of course, it's very serious astrology studies, but at the same time, it's fun. Yeah. Because when Joni talks about those charts of celebrities or current events, the whole group is weighing in. Everybody, all the students are like, oh, can we look at this? And can we look at that? It's an amazing experience. So you'll really love it.
Yeah. Most of all, it is a lot of fun. And if I could say this, my favorite thing in the whole wide world to do is teach astrology. More than anything else. That gives me so much joy. So yes. So any other questions they have about how this all works?
Okay, let's see. Can you be part of the Shooting Star Weekly when you sign up for the university?
They're two separate things. So you can be part of, and Shooting Star, we do talk about astrology, but you don't have to know astrology to be part of Shooting Stars, because we're all about finding our light and being focused in our spirituality. That's what this Shooting Star thing is all about. So they're two separate things, but I have a lot of people that are part of the university in the Shooting Stars, needless to say. So did I answer that question?
Yes, I think you did, Joni. All right, I don't think there are any other questions.
Okay, so once again, if you're kind of wondering, how does this work? How long does it take? Go back and watch the video that Shri and I did last week. She even shows you the Thinkific platform and how it all works, and how you're going to be watching the recorded videos, how you're going to get the links to watch the live webinars. Everything is in that video. And that's why we wanted to include today a little short question and answer in case you watched that video and you still had any questions.
And you don't have to. I think, Joni, we can put the link below this video too.
Okay, good. I'll do that right after this video airs. I'll put the link so you'll be able to go right to that. And you mean the link for the video that we did together, right?
Yes, that way they don't have to go search for it.
That's right. Okay, we'll do that as well. Anything else, Shri? Are we good today?
Let's see. Any last minute questions? No, I don't see anything more.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, I want to wish everyone around the world a happy, well, here in the United States, we have the 4th of July, which I'm actually wearing red, white, and blue. 4th of July week, and I want to wish everyone in the United States a happy 4th of July holiday. And for everyone else around the world, remember to center yourself and keep your peace. Listen to your inner guidance. It's the most important thing we can do right now. And I promise it's going to be a major, wonderful transformation, just what the world needed, so that there will be a beautiful healing and better things to come. So with that, we'll close, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you all in